My brother Marcus stood up at our parents' anniversary dinner, wine glass raised, and announced to everyone at the table, "Here's to Mom and Dad, who raised 3 successful children and 1 complete failure." He pointed at me. "You're the only disappointment in this family. Mom and Dad are proud of us, not you." Everyone went silent. I said nothing. I just folded my napkin, placed it beside my untouched plate, and walked out. 1 week later, they lost everything. That night, my mother called me sobbing. I grew up in suburban Connecticut, in a house where success meant only one thing: money, status, and the right career path. My father, Thomas, owned a successful insurance agency. My mother, Linda, sold real estate in the wealthy neighborhoods around Greenwich. They built a life that looked perfect from the outside, and they expected their children to maintain that image. 7 years ago, I dropped out of Yale Law School halfway through my 2nd year. I can still remember the look on my father's face when I told him. Had been so proud when I got accepted, had already started telling people his daughter would be a lawyer, but I hated every single day of law school. I'd sit in those classrooms feeling like I was suffocating, learning about torts and contracts when all I wanted to do was create, design, and build something with my own hands. So I left. I moved to New Haven, rented a tiny studio apartment above a coffee shop, and started doing freelance graphic design work. I taught myself advanced design software, built a portfolio, and slowly started getting clients. My parents were devastated. My father didn't speak to me for 6 months. My mother would call crying, asking when I'd come to my senses and go back to school. Family gatherings became torture sessions. Every holiday, every birthday, every dinner turned into an interrogation. "When are you going to get a real job?" "Art doesn't pay the bills, Dina. You're wasting your education." "We didn't raise you to be a struggling artist." Marcus would sit there with this smug expression, sometimes chiming in with comments about responsibility and living in the real world. Amanda would avoid eye contact, uncomfortable but never defending me. I started wearing my thrift store clothes like armor to family events. I drove my 15-year-old Honda Civic that had 200,000 miles on it and a dent in the passenger door. I lived simply, kept my head down, and tried to ignore their disappointment. The anniversary dinner had been held at this upscale steakhouse in Greenwich, the kind of place where appetizers cost $30 and the wine list has more pages than the food menu. 20 people were there: my parents, siblings, extended family, and some of my parents' closest friends. Everyone dressed up. I wore a simple black dress I'd bought at a consignment shop for $12. The dinner started normally enough. People chatted, ordered expensive steaks, talked about their jobs and vacations. I sat quietly at the end of the table, next to my cousin who spent the whole time on her phone. Then came the toasts. Amanda went first, giving a sweet speech about love and commitment. Jennifer talked about what wonderful in-laws my parents were. Then Marcus stood up. I should have known something was coming from the way he'd been drinking, from the edge in his voice. "Here's to Mom and Dad, who raised 3 successful children and 1 complete failure." He pointed directly at me. The room went silent. People looked down at their plates. "You're the only disappointment in this family. Mom and Dad are proud of us, not you." I felt every eye in that room turn toward me. My face burned. My chest tightened. I waited for someone, anyone, to say something, to tell Marcus he was out of line, to defend me. My mother looked uncomfortable but said nothing. My father cleared his throat but stayed silent. Amanda stared at her wine glass. I stood up slowly, my hands shaking. Marcus kept going. "Running away again? Just like you run from responsibility?" I folded my napkin carefully, placed it beside my untouched $50 filet mignon, and walked out of that restaurant with my head held high. But the second I got to my car, I broke down. I sobbed the entire drive home, my vision blurry with tears, pulling over twice because I couldn't see the road. I sat in my tiny apartment that night, surrounded by my art supplies and my simple furniture, feeling worthless, feeling like maybe they were right, maybe I was a failure, maybe I'd made all the wrong choices. But then I did what I always did when I felt this low. I opened my laptop and checked my business email. And there it was. A notification from my business manager. My design agency had just been awarded another major contract with a Fortune 500 company. $200,000 for a year-long branding project. Because here's what my family didn't know. What I'd kept secret from them for 3 years. I wasn't struggling. I wasn't barely getting by. I had built something real. 3 years ago, I'd taken all my freelance experience and started a proper graphic design agency. Not under my name, but under a business name, Blueprint Creative Studios. I hired other designers, project managers, account executives. We worked remotely, serviced corporate clients all over the country, and we were good. Really good. Last year, my company made over $400,000 in revenue. My personal take-home was $300,000. I had 15 employees who depended on me. I had over 200 corporate clients. I had a business that was growing every quarter. But I lived in that tiny studio apartment. I drove that old Honda. I wore thrift store clothes. Not because I had to, but because I'd learned that I didn't need expensive things to be happy. And because, honestly, some part of me wanted to see if my family would ever respect me for who I was, not for what I owned. Sitting there that night, looking at that contract notification, I realized something painful. They never would. I'd kept my success secret, thinking maybe they'd eventually see my worth without the trappings of money. But Marcus had just proven that to them, it'd always be the family disappointment. The irony was almost funny, almost. For 3 days after that dinner, I tried to move on. I threw myself into work, reviewing designs, meeting with clients over video calls, planning our next marketing campaign. I told myself I didn't need their approval. It built a life I was proud of. That should be enough. On the 3rd day, my phone rang. Amanda's name flashed on the screen. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. Dina. Her voice sounded strained, tight. Have you talked to Marcus? No, I said flatly. I'm still processing being called a failure in front of 20 people. I know. That was horrible. I should have said something. She paused. But Dina, something's happening with Marcus. Something bad. I can't get details, but his wife called me crying. She wouldn't tell me what's wrong, just said things are falling apart. I felt a flicker of curiosity but pushed it down. That's not my problem, Amanda. I know you're angry, but he's still our brother. If something's really wrong. She trailed off. He didn't seem to care about family loyalty when he humiliated me. I said, if he needs help, he can call me himself. We hung up. I told myself I didn't care what was happening with Marcus. Head made his choices. 2 days later, on a Friday afternoon, I was working from a coffee shop when I scrolled through a news website during my break. A headline caught my eye. Local law firm under investigation for fraud. My heart started pounding before I even clicked the article. Marcus firm. Whitmore and Associates. The article detailed allegations of embezzlement, fraudulent billing practices, and misappropriation of client funds. Federal investigators had opened a case. Several partners were being investigated. I read the article 3 times, my coffee going cold in my hand. Marcus was a partner. If the firm was involved in fraud, he could be implicated. He could lose his license, his career, everything. I felt a confusing mix of emotions. Shock, certainly, but also, shamefully, a tiny spark of vindication. The golden child wasn't so golden after all. I called Amanda immediately. She answered on the first ring. Did you see the news? I asked. Yes. Her voice was shaking. Dina, it's worse than the article says. Marcus was one of the main partners involved. Jennifer told me this morning. The FBI is investigating him personally. Oh my God. He could go to prison. They're talking about freezing his assets, taking the house. Jennifer is terrified. Amanda was crying now. Mom and Dad don't know yet. Jennifer begged me not to tell them. Why not? Amanda hesitated. Because Marcus convinced Dad to invest money in some deal. A lot of money. If this fraud thing is connected to that investment. She didn't finish the sentence. My stomach dropped. How much money? I don't know, but Jennifer said it's bad. We hung up. I sat there in that coffee shop, my laptop screen blurring in front of me. Part of me wanted to feel satisfied that Marcus was finally facing consequences. But mostly, I just felt scared. Scared for my parents. Scared about what a lot of money meant. That evening, I was making dinner in my tiny kitchen when my email pinged. An unfamiliar address. The subject line read, "Regarding your family, urgent." I almost deleted it as spam. But something made me open it. "Miss Harris? My name is David Morrison. I'm a private investigator. I have information about your family that you need to know urgently. Please call me at the number below. This is time-sensitive and concerns your parents' financial security." My hands trembled as I dialed the number. A man answered on the second ring. "David Morrison, this is Dina Harris. You emailed me." "Miss Harris, thank you for calling. I need to speak with you about a sensitive matter involving your brother Marcus and your parents." "Who hired you?" I asked. "The partners at Whitmore and Associates hired me initially to investigate the fraud allegations. But during my investigation, I discovered something else. Something that affects your family directly." "What?" He took a breath. "Your brother convinced your father to invest in a real estate development deal, a luxury condominium project in Fairfield County. Your father was told it was a guaranteed return, a safe investment with high profits." "Okay," I said slowly. "And the development deal is fake, Miss Harris. It's part of the same fraud scheme at Marcus' firm. There is no real project. The money your father invested is gone." The room spun. "How much?" "From what I've uncovered, your father took out a second mortgage on their home, $300,000. He also liquidated most of his retirement accounts. Another $200,000. All of it went into this fake development deal. $500,000. Gone. My parents are about to lose their house." My voice came out as a whisper. "Yes. The mortgage company will begin foreclosure proceedings within 30 days when the payments stop. And Miss Harris, there's something else you need to know." "What?" "Your brother knew it was a scam. He wasn't a victim. He was getting kickbacks. He brought your father in deliberately because he needed to move money and make the scheme look legitimate." I couldn't breathe. Marcus had knowingly defrauded our parents, his own mother and father. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because the FBI is moving in within 48 hours. Your parents are going to find out they've lost everything, and it's going to be devastating. I thought someone in the family should know first. Someone who might be able to help them. Does Marcus know you're calling me?" "No, and he'd appreciate if you kept my name out of this. I'm just trying to do the right thing here." We hung up. I sat on my apartment floor, back against the wall, and tried to process what I'd just learned. My parents, who had always been so financially secure, were about to lose everything. Their home, their retirement, their future. All because their golden son had betrayed them. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through scenarios. Should I call my parents and warn them? Should I confront Marcus? Should I just stay out of it and let the consequences unfold? By morning, the decision was made for me. I woke to my phone vibrating nonstop. 12 missed calls from my mother, 6 from Amanda, 3 from Jennifer, even 2 from numbers I didn't recognize. Before I could call anyone back, my phone rang again. "Amanda," she said without greeting. I fumbled for my laptop, pulled up a local news site. The headline screamed at me. FBI raids local law firm, multiple arrests expected. There were photos of FBI agents carrying boxes out of Marcus' firm, a video of people being escorted out in handcuffs. And there, in the center of it all, was Marcus, surrounded by federal agents. "They arrested him this morning," Amanda said, her voice hollow. "Jennifer called me at 6. They froze all their bank accounts. Their house is part of the investigation. They can't touch anything." "Where's Jennifer now?" "At her mother's house with the kids." "She's hysterical. Dina, she has nothing. No access to money, no car that isn't in Marcus' name, nothing." 2 hours later, Jennifer called me directly. "Dina, I know you have no reason to help me. I know what Marcus said to you. But I'm begging you, She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. My kids haven't eaten a real meal in 2 days. We're sleeping on my mother's couch. The FBI took everything. I have $17 in my wallet. Where's Marcus? I asked. Out on bail. He's staying at some hotel, meeting with lawyers. He says it's all a misunderstanding. That he can fix it. Her voice broke. But Dina. I found documents. He knew. He knew it was fraud. Has been lying to me for over a year. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. Jennifer wasn't the one who hurt me. Can you loan us anything? Even a few $100s would help. Please. I told her I'd wire her $2,000 for immediate expenses. She cried in relief. It wasn't about revenge anymore. Those kids didn't deserve to suffer. By afternoon, the real bomb dropped. Amanda called again. Mom and Dad just found out about the investment. The FBI contacted them this morning. Dina, they lost everything. How much? All of it. The mortgage, the retirement accounts, everything. They have 30 days before the bank forecloses on the house. She was crying. Dad had a panic attack. He's at Greenwich Hospital right now. Mom is with him. Is he okay? They think it's stress-related, but they're running tests. Mom is falling apart. She keeps saying they can't afford the medical bills. What about their insurance? It'll cover some, but not everything. And that's not the point. They're losing their home, Dina. The house they've lived in for 30 years. That evening, as darkness fell, my phone rang one more time. Mom. I stared at her name on the screen. Part of me wanted to let it go to voicemail, to let her experience what it felt like to need help and not receive it. But I couldn't. Hello? Dina? My mother's voice was so broken, so small, that my anger crumbled. Dina, please. I know we hurt you. I know we failed you. But we need help. She sobbed into the phone. Great, gasping sobs that made my own chest ache. Your father is in the hospital. The stress, the shock, his heart can't take it. We have no money for the medical bills. We're losing the house. Marcus won't answer our calls. He's trying to save himself. She was barely coherent. You're the only one who might be able to help us. I don't know what you can do. I don't know if you even want to speak to us. But please. Please, Dina. Mom, slow down. What exactly do you need? I don't know. Money for the hospital. A way to save the house. Marcus said he'd fix everything. But it was all lies. Everything is gone. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was the saddest thing I'd ever heard. I'm so sorry for everything we said about you. You deserved better from us. You deserved parents who supported you instead of judging you. I'm so sorry. The call ended with her crying too hard to speak. A nurse took the phone and told me my father was stable but needed to stay overnight for observation. I sat in my apartment, looking around at my simple life, my secondhand furniture, my art supplies, my tiny kitchen. I had the money to help them. I had more money than they knew. I could write a check tomorrow and solve their immediate crisis. But should I? They'd spent years making me feel worthless. They'd never supported my choices. Marcus had humiliated me, and they'd said nothing. Part of me wanted to let them face the consequences of trusting the wrong child. But they were still my parents, and despite everything, some part of me still loved them. I picked up my phone and sent a text to the family group chat. Family meeting. Tomorrow at 10 at the Starbucks on Main Street. Everyone needs to be there. Within seconds, everyone responded. Everyone except Marcus. That night, I lay awake planning what I would say, what I would do, and how I would finally, after all these years, make them see me. I arrived at the Starbucks 15 minutes early and claimed a large table in the back corner. I ordered a black coffee and waited, my heart pounding but my resolve firm. Amanda arrived first, looking exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail instead of her usual sleek bun. She hugged me tight. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," she whispered. "I don't know what we're going to do." Jennifer came next with Marcus' 2 kids. The children looked confused and scared. Jennifer's eyes were red and swollen. She mouthed thank you to me, probably for the money it sent. Then my parents walked in. I barely recognized my father. Head aged 10 years in a week. His skin looked gray. His shoulders slumped. My mother held his arm, guiding him like he might fall. When she saw me, tears immediately filled her eyes. They all sat down around the table. The silence was heavy and uncomfortable. "Where's Marcus?" I asked. "Hess with his lawyers," Jennifer said quietly. "They told him not to attend family meetings or discuss the case with anyone, Hess trying to cut a deal with the prosecutors." "Of course he is," I said. My father spoke for the first time. His voice was weak and shaky. "Dina, I don't know what you can do here. But your mother said you agreed to meet, so we came." Jennifer jumped in desperately. "Can you loan us anything? Even $5,000 would help with immediate expenses. Our mortgage is due, and we can't access our accounts." Amanda added, "Mom and Dad need money for the foreclosure. For Dad's medical bills. I've been trying to figure out how much, but the numbers are overwhelming." I took a sip of my coffee. Let them wait. Then I asked, "How much do Mom and Dad need to save the house?" My father looked down at his hands. "The foreclosure notice says we owe $320,000 to stop it. That's the second mortgage Marcus convinced me to take out, plus penalties and fees." "And the medical bills?" I asked. "So far, about $30,000, my mother said. "They're running more tests. He told me it was complicated, that I wouldn't understand legal financial structures. He said it was creative financing, and to trust him." She wiped her eyes. "I should have pushed harder. I should have protected our kids." Amanda hadn't said much. Now she spoke up. "Dina, I know you have no reason to help any of us. What we did to you, what we let Marcus do, was unforgivable. But I'm asking anyway. Is there anything you can do? Any connections? Any ideas?" They all looked at me with desperate, hopeful eyes. These people who had spent years making me feel small, who had never believed in me, were now looking to me as their only hope. I took a deep breath. What did you all think I could do? I'm the failure, remember? I live in a tiny apartment above a coffee shop. I drive a car older than some of your kids. I wear clothes from thrift stores. My father flinched at the words. My mother looked stricken. "I don't have fancy connections or a big important career," I continued. "I'm just an artist, right? Someone who wasted her potential and broke her parents' hearts." "Dina, please," my mother whispered. "We were wrong about you. So terribly wrong. I don't expect you to forgive us. But if there's anything at all you can think of." I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. Inside were bank statements, business documents, tax returns. I spread them across the table. "I can write a check today for the full amount," I said calmly. $350,000. That covers the house and the medical bills. Everyone froze. They stared at the documents in front of them like they were written in a foreign language. Amanda found her voice first. "What? How?" Jennifer picked up one of the bank statements, her eyes widening as she read the numbers. I leaned back in my chair. "I've been running a graphic design agency for 3 years. Blueprint Creative Studios. Maybe you've heard of it? We did the rebrand for Harrison Technologies last year. The campaign for Meridian Financial. The website overhaul for Northern Healthcare Group." My father's face went pale. "Those are massive companies." "Yes. I have 15 employees working for me. Over 200 corporate clients across the country. Last year, my company made $400,000 in revenue. My personal income was $300,000. The silence was absolute. Even the kids stopped fidgeting. "But we thought," my mother started. "You thought I was broke because I don't wear designer clothes or drive a new car," I finished. "You thought I was a failure because I didn't follow your plan for my life. You never asked about my work. You never showed any interest in what I was building. You just assumed," Thomas whispered. $400,000? "This year we're projected to clear $600,000, I added. "We're expanding." Jennifer was still staring at the bank statements. "You can save us." My expression hardened. I can. But I won't. Not unconditionally. They all started talking at once. I held up my hand. If I'm going to save this family, things are going to change. Here are my terms. I laid them out one by one, watching their faces as reality sank in. First, Marcus has to come here and apologize to me in front of all of you, and he has to admit what he did was fraud, that he destroyed you intentionally. Jennifer immediately protested. His lawyer said he can't admit guilt. It could be used against him in court. Then he can lose everything. I said simply. I'm not saving someone who won't take responsibility for what they did. He called me a failure at that dinner. He humiliated me. He destroyed our parents' financial security. If he wants my help, he owns up to all of it. My father was nodding slowly. That's fair. Second, I continued. Mom, Dad, you both attend family therapy with me for 6 months. We have deep wounds that need healing. I'm not just throwing money at this and pretending everything's fine. My mother grabbed my hand. Yes. Absolutely yes. Whatever you need. Third, Amanda, you're going to help me expand my business. You wanted to be an investment banker? Help me invest and grow what I've built. Use those skills for something that matters to you. Amanda's eyes lit up. Really? You'd want me to work with you. You're smart and talented. You just never found work that fulfilled you. Maybe this will. I'd love that, she said, tears streaming down her face. I turned to Jennifer. Fourth, you're going to tell me everything you know about what Marcus did. No protecting him, no leaving things out, complete honesty. She looked torn, glanced at her kids, then nodded. Okay. I'll tell you everything. And understand this. I said to all of them, I'm not doing this to be a hero. I'm not doing this so you'll finally respect me, though that would be nice. I'm doing this because you're my family, and despite everything, I love you. But the disrespect, the judgment, the constant criticism, that ends today. I deserve better, and am not accepting anything less anymore. You do deserve better, my father said, his voice breaking. You always did. So those are my terms, I concluded. You have 48 hours to think about it. We don't need 48 hours, my mother said immediately. We agree to everything. Amanda nodded vigorously. Jennifer said, yes. All of it. Only the Marcus requirement seemed to give them pause. My father pulled out his phone right there at the table. He dialed, put it on speaker. Marcus answered on the third ring. Dad. My lawyer said I shouldn't be talking to family right now. I don't care what your lawyer said. My father's voice was stronger than I'd heard it all morning. You need to come to the Starbucks on Main Street, now. Dad. I can't. I'm in the middle of meeting with my legal team. Marcus James Harris. You will get in your car and come here in the next 30 minutes, or I will never speak to you again. Do you understand me? There was a long pause. What's this about? It's about taking responsibility for what you've done to this family. He hung up. We all sat there, waiting. Jennifer kept her kids occupied with coloring books Shed brought. Amanda and I talked quietly about her joining my company. My parents just sat, holding hands, looking old and tired and scared. 45 minutes later, Marcus walked in. Marcus looked terrible. His usually perfect hair was messy. His expensive suit was wrinkled. His face was drawn and exhausted. But there was still defiance in his eyes as he approached our table. What's going on? He demanded. I don't have time for family drama. I'm fighting criminal charges. Sit down, my father said. Marcus remained standing. Dad, my lawyer said. I don't care what your lawyer said. My father's voice rose, surprising everyone. Sit down and face what you've done. Marcus slowly pulled out a chair, his eyes scanning the table suspiciously. When his gaze landed on me, I saw a flicker of confusion. Why was I here? Dina is offering to save Mom and Dad's house, Amanda said, and help Jennifer and the kids. Marcus scoffed. Dina? What's she going to do? Draw them a pretty picture. The contempt in his voice made my mother flinch. She has money. Jennifer said quietly. Real money. More than we ever had. Marcus looked at me like she was joking. What are you talking about? I slid a bank statement across the table. He picked it up, squinting at the numbers. His face went through several emotions: confusion, disbelief, then something that looked almost like fear. This is fake, he said, but his voice wavered. It's not, I said calmly. I own a design agency. We're very successful. I can write a check today for $350,000 to save Mom and Dad's house and pay Dad's medical bills. Marcus stared at the paper, then at me. You're lying. I pulled out more documents. Business licenses, tax returns, client contracts with recognizable corporate names. I spread them across the table like playing cards. I made over $300,000 last year, I said. The failure of the family built something real while you were building a house of cards. Marcus' face turned red. So, you'll help them? Great, problem solved. Can I go now? Not quite, I said. I have conditions. Of course you do. He sneered. You want to hold this over everyone's head? No. I want you to apologize for what you said at that dinner, and I want you to admit you defrauded our parents. He slammed his hand on the table. I'm not admitting anything. My lawyer said any admission could be used against me in court. Then I won't help, I said simply. Marcus looked around the table. You're seriously going to let her blackmail us? It's not blackmail, my father said. It's accountability. Something you've avoided your entire life. I avoided accountability. Marcus' voice rose. I'm the one who became a lawyer like you wanted. I'm the one who made partner, bought the big house, gave you grandkids you could show off. I did everything you asked. And then you stole from us, my father said quietly. The words hung in the air. Marcus' face went white. I didn't. It wasn't supposed to, he stammered. You knew the investment was fake, I said. You got kickbacks for bringing in investors, including your own father. You weren't a victim, Marcus. You were a perpetrator. Jennifer spoke up, her voice shaking. She's right, Marcus. I found the documents in your office. You told me it was creative financing, but it wasn't. It was fraud. You knew it was fraud. Marcus turned on his wife. Shut up! You don't know what you're talking about. Don't you dare speak to her that way. My father stood up. Actually stood up. His hands shaking but his voice strong. Dina is right. You destroyed us. You destroyed your own family for money. I thought it would work. Marcus' composure cracked. I thought I could pay everyone back before anyone found out. It was supposed to be temporary. Temporary, my mother said. We lost our retirement savings, our home. How is that temporary? Marcus sat down heavily, his head in his hands. He looked around the table at all of us. His wife wouldn't meet his eyes. His kids were watching him with confusion. His parents looked disgusted. Amanda was shaking her head. And I just sat there, waiting. He realized it then. Head lost us all. His fancy career was gone. His reputation was destroyed. His family was looking at him like a stranger. He had nothing left but the consequences of his choices. Fine, he said, his voice barely audible. You want an apology? Here it is. I'm sorry I called you a failure, Dina. I waited. And his jaw clenched. And I was wrong. You're not a failure. You never were. Keep going. He took a shuddering breath. I was jealous. The words came out like they hurt. You had the courage to leave law school and follow your dreams. I stayed in a career I hated because I wanted Dad's approval. I wanted to be the golden child. My father looked stricken. Marcus, I never asked you to. Marcus cut him off. You didn't have to ask. I saw how you looked at me when I made partner, how you bragged about me at the club. I wanted that look more than anything. He turned to me. And when you left law school, I was angry. Not because you failed, but because you were brave enough to choose yourself. I wasn't. The honesty in his voice surprised me. This was maybe the most real I'd ever heard Marcus sound. He continued, his voice breaking. The fraud started small. A little creative accounting here, moving some money there. Then it got bigger. I got in too deep. I convinced myself I could fix it, that I could make everyone whole before anyone found out. He looked at our father. I brought you in because I was desperate. I thought if I could get enough new money in, I could pay back the earlier investors and no one would ever know. But it doesn't work that way, Amanda said. That's literally a Ponzi scheme. I know, Marcus shouted, then lowered his voice. I know. I destroyed everything. My career, my family's security, my kids' future. He started crying. Actually crying. And the worst part? I blamed you at that dinner, Dina, because seeing you happy made me realize how miserable I was. How Eid built this whole life that looked perfect but felt empty. The table was silent, except for Marcus' quiet sobs. My mother reached across and took his hand. He didn't deserve her comfort, but she gave it anyway. That's what mothers do. I'm sorry, Marcus said again. I'm so sorry for all of it. For the fraud, for hurting Mom and Dad, for what I said to you, for everything. I deserve whatever happens to me. I studied him for a long moment. Was this real remorse, or was it just desperation? I honestly couldn't tell. But maybe it didn't matter. Actions would show me the truth over time. I accept your apology, I said. Here's what happens now. I pulled out the paperwork. It had my attorney prepare. I'm paying off the house in full. $320,000. It'll be transferred to Mom and Dad's names with a legal clause that you can never have any claim to it. Marcus nodded without argument. I'm also covering Dad's medical bills. $30,000 so far, more if needed. My parents started crying. Dina, we don't deserve this, my mother said. Maybe not, I agreed. But I'm not doing this for you alone. I'm doing it because family means something to me. Even when it's messy and complicated. I turned back to Marcus. You're going to face whatever legal consequences come. No more running. No more protecting yourself while everyone else suffers. You'll cooperate with investigators fully. I will, he said. I already decided that. My lawyer won't like it, but I can't keep lying, and you're going to get therapy, real therapy, not to avoid prison, but to figure out why you destroyed yourself trying to please everyone else. He nodded. Okay. I looked at my father. That goes for you too, Dad. You put so much pressure on us to be successful by your definition that Marcus cracked under it. We all need to figure out how this family got so broken. My father's voice was heavy with shame. You're right. I'm sorry. I thought I was helping you kids by pushing you to succeed. I didn't realize I was pushing you away. Over the next 2 weeks, I followed through on everything. I transferred the money to save my parents' house. I paid the medical bills. I set up trust funds for Marcus' kids so they'd have money for college regardless of what happened to their father. Marcus cooperated fully with the FBI investigation. His lawyer was furious. Said he was committing legal suicide. But Marcus didn't care anymore. Head lost everything that mattered. Prison was just the next logical step. The prosecutor, seeing his cooperation, offered a deal. 3 years in a minimum security facility instead of the 10 years he could have gotten. Marcus took it. Jennifer moved with the kids into a modest apartment. I helped her with the deposit and first month's rent. She got a job teaching at a local elementary school, something Shed always wanted to do but never had time for when she was maintaining their expensive lifestyle. Amanda gave notice at her investment banking job and came to work with me. She was brilliant at financial planning and growth strategies. Within a month, Shed helped me restructure the business for better profit margins. My parents started individual and family therapy. It was hard, painful work. My father had to confront how his obsession with success had damaged his relationships with all his children. My mother had to acknowledge how Shed enabled that pattern and failed to support me when I needed her most. But slowly, things began to heal. The family therapy sessions were brutal. Once a week, my parents and I sat in a small office with Dr. Sarah Patterson, a family therapist who specialized in repairing broken relationships. The first few sessions, nobody wanted to talk. We'd sit in uncomfortable silence until Dr. Patterson would gently prod someone to share. In the third session, my father finally broke down. I failed all of you, he said, his voice raw. I thought being a good father meant pushing you to be successful. My own father was a factory worker who died with nothing. I built a business, made something of myself, and I wanted better for my kids. But I equated better with money and status. Why? Dr. Patterson asked. Because that's all I knew, he admitted. Money meant security. Status meant respect. I never learned that there were other ways to measure a life. He looked at me. When you left law school, I felt like you were rejecting everything I'd worked to give you. The opportunities, the education, the path to success. I took it personally. It wasn't about you, I said. It was about me needing to find my own path. I know that now, he said. But then, I just felt like I'd failed as a father, and instead of supporting you, I pulled away. My mother jumped in. We both did. We froze you out, hoping you'd come to your senses and go back. We thought we were using tough love, but we were really just being cruel. You were, I said, and they both flinched. You made me feel worthless for years. Every family gathering was a reminder that I didn't measure up. Did we ever ask about your work? My mother asked quietly. About what you were creating. I thought about it. No. Never. You'd ask when I was going to get a real job. But you never asked what I was actually doing. What were you doing? My father asked. I mean, I know now about the business, but what did it mean to you? It was such a simple question, but it was the first time either of them had asked it in 7 years. I was building something that mattered to me. I said, every brand I designed, every website I created, I was helping businesses tell their stories visually. I was good at it. I loved it. And slowly, I realized I could turn that love into a real career. Not despite rejecting law school, but because I rejected it. My father was crying now. I'm so proud of you. I should have said that years ago. Yes. I agreed. You should have. The sessions continued. Slowly, painfully, we started to understand each other. My parents began to see how their pressure had affected all 3 of their children. Marcus had crumbled under it. Amanda had chosen a career she hated to please them, and I'd had to completely separate from them to find myself. Meanwhile, Amanda was thriving working with me. She brought structure and financial planning to Blueprint Creative Studios. We expanded to 25 employees. We landed 3 major contracts in 2 months. She was happier than I'd ever seen her. I used to dread Mondays, she told me one afternoon as we reviewed quarterly projections. I'd wake up with this sense of doom, knowing I had to spend another week making rich people richer. But this matters. We're helping businesses grow. We're creating something. I'm glad you're here, I said. She looked at me seriously. I'm sorry it took almost losing everything for me to pull my head out and see what you'd built. You were right all along. I wasn't right or wrong, I said. I was just being myself. That's all I ever wanted the freedom to do. My parents began to change too. My father, who'd spent 40 years obsessing over his insurance business, retired. He started volunteering at a community art center, helping teenagers learn about creative careers. He'd call me excited about a kid who'd discovered graphic design, or a young artist who'd sold their first painting. I'm learning about your world, he told me. And it's beautiful. I wish I'd taken the time to see it sooner. My mother became my biggest cheerleader. She'd tell everyone she met about my business. She'd send me articles about design trends. She'd check in just to ask how I was doing, not to judge but to genuinely understand. 6 months into Marcus' prison sentence, I went to visit him. Jennifer had been taking the kids once a month, but I hadn't gone yet. I wasn't sure I wanted to. But something Dr. Patterson said in therapy stuck with me. Forgiveness isn't about saying what someone did was okay. It's about releasing yourself from the anger, so you can heal. So I drove to the minimum security facility in upstate Connecticut and sat across from my brother in a plain visiting room. He looked different. Humbler. His expensive clothes were gone, replaced by a prison uniform. His arrogance had been stripped away. He looked younger somehow, more vulnerable. I didn't think you'd come, he said. I wasn't sure I would. I admitted. Thank you for what you did for Jennifer and the kids, and for Mom and Dad. How are you doing? I asked. He thought about it. Honestly, better than I expected. I've been in therapy twice a week. Turns out I have a lot to work on. Like what? Like figuring out who I am when not trying to impress anyone. I spent my whole life performing Dina. Being the perfect son, the perfect lawyer, the perfect everything. But I had no idea who I actually was underneath all that. And now I'm learning. It's painful and uncomfortable, but it's real. He leaned forward. You know what the therapist told me? She said I built my entire identity around other people's expectations. I never developed a sense of self. So when things started falling apart, I had nothing solid to stand on. That makes sense, I said. I envied you, he continued. Even while I was mocking you, I envied you. You knew who you were. You weren't afraid to disappoint people if it meant being authentic. I wish I'd learned that lesson before I destroyed everything. You can still learn it, I said. You have 3 years to figure out who you want to be. Will you come back? He asked. To visit, I mean. I hesitated. Maybe. Well, see. I'm not ready to pretend everything is fine between us. I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking if there's a chance we can build something real eventually. Not the fake brother-sister relationship we had before, but something honest. Possibly, I said. But you have to do the work, Marcus. You have to actually change. I'm trying, he said. I really am. The holidays approached. My parents invited everyone to their house for Thanksgiving. The house that almost wasn't theirs anymore. The house I'd saved. Marcus called from prison to talk to everyone. Jennifer came with the kids. Amanda brought her new boyfriend. A teacher Shed met at a bookstore. My parents cooked a huge meal. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward moments and unspoken tensions, but there was also laughter. Real laughter. My nephew told me about a drawing head made at school. My mother showed me the new curtains Shed sewn for the living room. My father asked my advice about a young artist at the community center. We were healing. Slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. After dinner, my father stood to make a toast. The last time He'd done this was at that anniversary dinner where everything fell apart. I tensed, remembering. Last year at this time, he began. I thought I knew what success looked like. Money, status, impressive titles. I was wrong. So terribly wrong. He looked directly at me. Success is having the courage to be yourself, even when the people who should support you don't. Success is building something meaningful instead of something impressive. Success is knowing who you are and being comfortable with that person. His voice broke. Dina, you saved us. Not just financially, but emotionally. You showed us what real strength looks like. You could have let us fall. You would have been justified. But you chose love anyway, my mother added. You taught us that family isn't about meeting expectations. It's about accepting each other as we are. Amanda raised her glass. You gave me the courage to leave a job I hated and find work I love. I'm happier now than I've been in 10 years. Jennifer said, you showed my kids that kindness and generosity matter more than success. The prison call with Marcus was still connected through speakerphone. His voice came through tinny but sincere. Dina, I spent my whole life trying to be someone I wasn't. You always knew who you were. I'm finally learning. Thank you for not giving up on me. I felt tears on my cheeks. I didn't do this alone, I said. Everyone here had to choose to change, to do the hard work. To be honest, that's what saved us. That evening, after everyone left, I sat with my parents in their living room, the same living room where I'd felt so judged so many times. But tonight, it felt different. It felt like home. How did you stay strong all those years? My mother asked. When we were so critical, so unsupportive, how did you not give up? I thought carefully. I learned that other people's opinions of me, even people I love, don't define my worth. I had to believe in myself first. And I had to accept that you might never understand my choices, and that had to be okay. But it must have been so lonely, she said. Sometimes, I admitted. But it was also freeing. Once I stopped trying to earn your approval, I could just focus on building a life that made me happy. My father asked, "Do you forgive us?" "I'm working on it," I said honestly. "Forgiveness isn't instant, but seeing you both actually change, actually try to understand me, that helps." "Well, keep trying," he promised. For the rest of our lives. 1 year after that terrible anniversary dinner, my parents threw another celebration. This time, it was to celebrate the first anniversary of Blueprint Creative Studios expanding into Amanda's financial division. The party was different from that disastrous dinner. It was held at my new office space, not some fancy restaurant. There were about 30 people there. My employees, my parents, Amanda and her boyfriend, Jennifer and the kids, and a video call set up so Marcus could join from prison. The walls displayed some of our best design work. There was genuine joy in the room. People were laughing, talking, celebrating real accomplishments. Amanda stood up to give a speech. "A year ago, I was miserable in a job I hated. But I didn't know there was another option. My sister showed me that you can build a career around your values, not just your paycheck." Blueprint Creative has grown by 200% this year. We now have 50 employees across 3 divisions, and we did it by being authentic, working hard, and supporting each other. She raised her glass. To Dina, who never gave up on herself, and who eventually didn't give up on us either, my mother spoke next. "I spent years measuring my children by the wrong standards. Money, titles, appearances. I missed what really mattered. Character, courage, authenticity. Dina, you have all 3. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." My father added, "I'm learning about art now. I spend my days with young artists at the community center. Last week, a 16-year-old girl told me her parents want her to be a doctor, but she wants to be an illustrator. You know what I told her? I told her about my daughter who had the courage to follow her dreams, and how she built something incredible. I told her that courage matters more than comfort." He paused, emotional. "I wish I'd told you that when you were younger, Dina." Jennifer's kids ran up to me with drawings they'd made. "Aunt Dina, look! I drew our family." My nephew's picture showed stick figures holding hands, everyone smiling, even the one labeled Daddy who was behind bars. "It's beautiful." I told him, and meant it. The video screen showed Marcus in his prison uniform. Had been allowed to join the call from the facility's common room. "I won't be home for another 18 months, he said. "But when I get out, I want to do something meaningful. Maybe work with troubled kids, teens who are making bad choices like I did. I want to help them before they destroy their lives." "That would be amazing," I told him. He smiled. "I've been reading a lot. Thinking a lot. I spent 36 years trying to be perfect. And it almost killed me. Now I'm just trying to be real. It's harder, but it feels better." Later that evening, when most of the guests had left, I stood on the balcony of my office space overlooking downtown New Haven. My mother joined me. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "How much has changed?" I said. "A year ago, Marcus called me a failure. Now he's in prison, Dad volunteers at an art center, Amanda works with me, and you actually understand what I do for a living. Do you think we've really changed?" she asked. "Or are we just being nicer because you saved us?" It was a fair question. "I think you're changing," I said. "Real change is slow. But I see Dad's face light up when he talks about the kids at the art center. I see you genuinely interested in my work, not just asking to be polite. I see Marcus doing real therapy work. That's not fake." "How did you do it?" she asked. "How did you stay true to yourself when everyone was telling you that you were wrong?" I thought about it carefully. I learned something important. Other people's opinions of me, even people I deeply love, don't define my worth. I had to believe in myself first, before anyone else could. But wasn't it lonely? Incredibly lonely. I admitted. There were nights I cried myself to sleep wondering if you were right, if I'd made a terrible mistake, but then I'd wake up and do work I loved, and I'd remember why I made the choices I did. She took my hand. "I'm so sorry we made you feel alone." "I know," I said. "And I'm learning to forgive you. Not because what you did was okay, but because holding on to anger only hurts me. You've shown me you're willing to change. That's all I can ask. What would you tell someone else going through what you went through? She asked, someone whose family doesn't support them. I considered the question. I'd tell them that success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about being true to yourself. Your family's approval is nice, but it can't be the foundation of your self-worth. You have to build that inside yourself. And family, she prompted. Family is complicated, I said. They can hurt you deeply because you love them, but family also means choosing each other, even when it's hard, even when you're angry, even when they've failed you. It means being willing to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve the peace that comes with it. My father joined us on the balcony. Are we having a deep conversation without me? My mother smiled. Dina is sharing her wisdom. I'd like to hear it, he said. I looked at both of them. These people who had hurt me so badly but who were genuinely trying to do better. Here's what I've learned, I said. The only real failure is giving up on yourself. Marcus called me a failure, but he was wrong. Failure isn't about what career you choose or how much money you make. Failure is living someone else's life instead of your own. I continued. For years, I thought I needed your approval to feel successful. But real success came when I stopped needing your approval and started living authentically. The irony is that once I stopped trying to please you, once I just focused on being myself, I actually became successful by any measure, even ours. My father acknowledged. Especially yours. I agreed, because you were measuring success wrong. Money and status are nice, but they're not the point. The point is building a life that reflects your values, that brings you joy, that makes a positive difference. My mother asked. How do we make sure we don't make the same mistakes with your nephew and niece? Or any future grandchildren? Ask them what makes them happy, I said simply. Ask them about their dreams, not your expectations. Support them in becoming who they are, not who you want them to be. And remember that there are 1,000 different ways to live a successful, meaningful life. A few months later, I received a letter from Marcus. He was allowed limited correspondence from prison. The letter was different from any communication I'd ever received from him before. It was honest, vulnerable, real. Dear Dina, it read. I've been thinking a lot about that dinner where I called you a failure. It's probably the moment I am most ashamed of in my life. And I've done a lot of shameful things. But I finally understand why I said it. I called you a failure because your success terrified me. You succeeded by being yourself. I was failing by trying to be everyone else. Your authenticity highlighted my fraud, and I hated you for it. But I should have admired you for it. I'm trying to learn what you knew all along, that the only life worth living is your own. Thank you for not giving up on me. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm grateful for it. Your brother, Marcus. I kept that letter. I framed it and hung it in my office as a reminder of how much people can change when they're willing to do the hard work. 2 years after that anniversary dinner, Marcus was released from prison. Had served his time, completed intensive therapy, and had a plan for his future. He moved into a small apartment, got a job at a nonprofit that helped at-risk youth, and committed to rebuilding his life slowly and honestly. The first family dinner after his release was tense, but Marcus showed up as a different person. Humbler, more genuine, more present. I spent 3 years learning who I actually am, he told us. Turns out, I'm not the person I pretended to be for 36 years. I'm quieter, more introspective, more creative than I ever let myself acknowledge. I like working with kids, because it reminds me of what I should have learned young. That you don't have to perform for people to value you. We're not perfect. We still have hard days. Sometimes old patterns resurface, and we have to check each other. But we're honest now. We're real with each other. And that makes all the difference. My business continues to grow. Last year, we cleared over $1 million in revenue. I've been featured in several business magazines, always making sure to mention my team and what we've built together. But my favorite moments aren't the big contracts or the media attention. They're the small ones. My father calling to tell me about a student who got accepted to art school. My mother sending me a photo of something she designed for her volunteer work at the library. Amanda texting me about a new client we landed. Marcus sharing a story about a kid he mentored who turned their life around. These moments remind me why I fought so hard to be myself, why I endured years of judgment and criticism, why I kept building even when no one believed in me. Because at the end of the day, the greatest success isn't financial wealth or professional recognition. It's living authentically. It's building relationships based on honesty instead of performance. It's becoming the person you were always meant to be, regardless of what anyone else thinks. They called me a failure. They were wrong, but more importantly, I never believed them. And that's why I won. So, let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where your family didn't support your dreams? Where the people who were supposed to believe in you told you that you weren't good enough? How did you handle it? Did you stay true to yourself, or did you compromise who you were to please them? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. And if my story resonated with you, if it reminded you that your worth isn't determined by other people's opinions, then please hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel if you want to hear more stories about real people overcoming real challenges. And share this video with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to choose themselves, even when it's hard. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being part of this journey. Remember, the only failure is giving up on yourself. Stay true to who you are, and the right people will eventually see your worth. And if they don't, that's okay too. You don't need everyone's approval to live a life that matters. You just need your own. Take care. And I hope you find the courage to be authentically yourself, no matter what anyone else thinks.